faces. Some of you may recall, I am a dietetic intern at the Phoenix VA Hospital as well as an ASU grad student. And I'll tell you, over the past 6 years of schooling, I have learned many things regarding nutrition. First and foremost, I can look at someone and within a few minutes determine if they are likely to have any vitamin deficiencies. Second, I have had hundreds of conversations with complete strangers about their food. I am able to prescribe tube feeds, special diets, and order IV nutrition for our patients in critical care. And most importantly, when I'm holding your labs in my hand, I can tell if you're lying about what you eat when you're home. Now, some things they can teach you in a classroom. There's many things they cannot teach you in a classroom. Now I'm coming on almost 6 months of being an intern. I have learned a few things that are definitely interesting, most of the time unique, and quite humorous. And I'm going to briefly share 9 of the things I have learned as an intern with you today. Number 1, the word typical has no bearing in a hospital. For example, I had the honor of having a conversation with and shaking the hand of one of only 4 remaining living World War II code talkers. That's not typical. We have patients who have had completely severed spinal cords, and I'm able to witness them taking their first steps again. While it's not a world record, I have been able to see a 65-pound scrotum. Now, if you do the math, that's roughly 8 gallons of fluid that somebody is holding. And I will say it's not a world record because I had to check. And the world record is 134 pounds. The second thing I have learned, and you all know when you visit your doctor, it's the poker face. We call it the medical face, or those of us in the dietetics field call it the registered dietitian, the RD face. Nothing you as my patient can say will visibly shock me. But I have learned that it is very, very hard sometimes to keep your medical face on. And here I'm specifically referencing the aforementioned scrotum. There are some people who really, really hate hospitals. They hate them so much, they won't go until they are literally at death's door. For example, a patient who got a scratch on his bum that got infected, turned into gangrene. But he didn't come yet, as if the odor was not bad enough. He waited until the gangrene had spread up to his belly button and halfway down his leg before he chose to come. So some patients really hate hospitals. On the same note, the body can endure and survive some pretty amazing things. I had a patient, multiple gunshot wounds to the abdomen. He was put into surgery immediately, put into a medically induced coma because they could not close him up. They literally plastic wrapped his organs, and he lied in bed in a coma for 3 weeks with his organs suspended above his body and survived. 6, hospitals are probably the only place since your frat days that will celebrate passing gas. Certain medical procedures, when you're done, your doctor or your nurses, your dietitian will come up to you and say, have you passed gas? Have you had a bowel movement? Despite the laws of propriety, we really do need to know this. Because as complicated as medicine can be, oftentimes the defining factor on whether you're gonna be okay or not is if you can fart. The human spirit is a very powerful thing. There is nothing as humbling as being present and having a conversation with a patient who just received word that they have an 8% chance of surviving the year. And then seeing that patient choose to go ahead and do chemotherapy anyways. Your sense of smell working in a hospital, despite logic, does not diminish, it becomes more acute. You learn after a few weeks in a hospital, walking down the hall, the sickly sweet smell of gangrene from the decomposing smell of a MRSA infection, the earthy smell of the various stages of healing from an amputation, and yes, occasionally poop. Number 8, after 6 years of college, when you become an intern, you realize that sometimes the most complicated or in-depth conversation you're going to have with a patient is how to buy Tupperware. And lastly, don't ever overlook the power of the lab coat. In a hospital setting, if you do not know, only specific people are granted lab coats. The others wear scrubs. So the nice thing about this is, when you're wearing a lab coat, everybody wants to play it safe, and they just treat you like your doctor. So it's instant power, instant authority. It's fantastic. So you see, working on the other side of the chart, it's definitely anything but boring. We see a lot of scary things, but what I find the most surprising was how people surprised me. And the more they're pushed towards their emotional and physical limits, the more surprising they can be. Through my schooling, we've learned a lot of things. There are just some things a textbook can't teach you with its glossy photos and its concise medical descriptions of diseases. Some of these things you just learn being with your patients. One of the things that I have found is that while it may not be a profound life skill to be able to tell somebody's state of health by the smell of their poop, it is very inspirational and motivating to see the differences in how various people confront illness and how they choose to either fight it or not fight it. And maybe that's the most important lesson I've learned as being an intern, is that people are pretty stinking amazing. But the lab was just a bonus.